In this project, we're going to combine all the different things that we did, plus we're going to introduce one new thing, having an external style sheet. So if you'll notice here, I have a background image. I have a background image for my header section. I have styled CSS buttons. I'm using Google material icons. I have some simple text. I have an image. It's floating to the right. But the thing that's new is that my style sheet, now I do have these style sheets which are for my, some of these are for my Firefox plugin and some of these are for my material icons that we don't need. These are from a security plugin I have, so I just don't want to confuse you. This one I imported so that I could use the icons here, and then I have my style sheet that I've created. This is how you link to an external style sheet. If I expand it, it shows you the external style sheet because it's basically importing it here. But the style sheet, we can look at CSS and you can see what I wrote. It's exactly the same as we put in the head, but we don't have to have the style tags on the outside. So I've done the background with my background image. It's no repeat, fixed center center. That keeps it to stretch across the whole thing. I have my container here. I have a header with my software background. I've set my background size, my margin. This is something I did which was a little funky. My margin, I had a big white gap here at the top. I used a negative margin to make the image go up where I wanted it to, so I got the look that I wanted. You can use negative numbers and margins. Text align center, and then width set to 100%. I've got the H1, that's this portion of my header, set to white. Font family is fantasy. You're not really seeing that here. That's going to depend on the computer that you're sitting on. Padding of 30 pixels, and it's text aligned right. I have the main area, which is down here, and all I've set for that is a padding of 25 pixels. I used an ID. Now when you're using an ID, it's something that you only use once instead of a class. A class you can use as many times as you'd like on a page. An ID is a unique identifier. I wanted custom stylings just for the programmer image. I have them floating to the right. I have the height to auto. I have the padding to 15 pixels, and I have the width to 40%. So if I were to resize this window, he'd get smaller. I've set my heading colors all to green. I've set my font size to 1.4. This is a fairly large font. I didn't feel like writing a lot, so I made my text larger. I've set padding on the left to 40 because I wanted it to be tabbed in from the headings. I've got my nav area with the text align right. This is my nav area right here. And then I've got my links with a partially transparent background here to make it easier to read the text against the sort of blue background that's fading out here. I've got their color, I've got their font size, font weight of 400, margin of 5 pixels and 10 pixels. That's how much space there is between the buttons. The padding is giving me the area that's covered in the white, that's the background. And then there's a text decoration of none. When you hover, the colors reverse. So on the other page, this is my coding party page. On the other page, I was not feeling very creative. I went out and got the embed code from Google Maps, and you're welcome to do the same thing because I just really didn't have a lot of content. I just wanted to have both pages point to that external style sheet. So again, here you'll have the style, the link ref style.css relationship style sheet that's linking us to our style sheet. And then in the main section here, I copied this. I went out to Google Maps and just got their embed code. This is an exact copy and paste from the embed code from Google Maps because I didn't have a lot of content for the second page. What I wanted you to see is that when you have one external style that both pages link to, the background and everything is inherited by both pages. So that's the new thing for this assignment compared to what you've done before, is you're making your styles on an external page. So when you do that, in brackets, all you do to create a CSS page is you'll do File, New. So I'm in, this is Event. So I just did File, New, and I saved as style.css. If you're really looking close here, you'll notice that I actually was using a CSS preprocessor language to create my CSS, which you'll learn in the future that I used Sass because it lets me have variables and do some other things to speed up development. I did a couple things in here. It lets you embed things, but it translates into pure CSS, which is what you will be writing at this point, where you have the nav anchors hover. But if you see the comments in here, that's just because I did use a preprocessor language here because I was in a hurry and trying to figure a few things out. In the future class, Web 115, we actually teach you how to use preprocessor languages, which can significantly cut your development time. I love tools like that. I don't encourage them for use in a first semester course in HTML and CSS because before you start taking the shortcuts, you've got to really understand the way things work inherently in CSS. But if you were paying attention, you'll notice over here that I was doing that. So that's what you do in brackets, is you just create a file, you just do File, New, and then you do File, Save As, and I'm going to call it delete me.css. Make sure you put it into the correct folder, and then you would just start typing your styles here just as if you had been putting them in the head section. So that's it for this project.